Hello again, welcome back everyone. LiquorHound here with you, and thank you for joining me once again for another spirit review video. Today we're going to be taking a look at a couple of very mature tequilas, okay? These are in the extra Añejo category, which is anything over 3 years old. And typically when you see extra Añejo on the store shelves, it's going to be somewhere between 3-year and 5-year. Now, 5 years really pushing it again because of Mexico's hot climate. The barrels suffer a lot of angel share loss each and every year. So they really have a hard time going above 5. It has been done, of course. You know, Fuente Seca, with their cave maturation, they can get some crazy, really old, lengthy maturations. But typically 8, 9 years old, which these are, pretty rare. And again, if Fuente Seca does it, they're going to be very expensive, probably $400 to $500 for like an 8 or 9-year-old. But the Mi Casa small batch, man, when I look at their, it's called Lot 001 brands, or Lot 01 brands. They're out of, matter of fact, they're out of Fort Worth, Texas, but they're the ones behind this. Of course, they are sourcing it from NOM 1499, which is why I have this bottle right here beside it, because this is an old 1921. But if you're familiar with this 1921 tequila, it is currently made at the same distillery that this is, all right? Now, okay, this is batch 2 of the Mi Casa small batch extra añejo, because batch 1 actually released in October of last year. There was only 661 bottles of it. This one came out in February 2024, 683 bottles, so just a few more. This one's at 44% ABV, 88 proof. Let's see, and batch 3, released in July of 24, was another 8-barrel blend, but 958 bottles at 43%. So you're going to see one of those if you happen to see this on a shelf, and you'll have to look at the front because it'll tell you right here, batch number, lot number, which is kind of weird, WSB2-XA, so batch 2 extra añejo. It'll give you the bottle number. This is bottle 543. Retail pricing on this one is going to be right at $200, maybe a smidge over. Okay, so it is very expensive. But again, 9-year-old extra añejo coming out of Jack Daniels, and I think they said Elijah Craig barrels. But they do use them 4 or 5 times, so they could be very tired. Hence the color is natural, but not super dark. So we're going to see what that's like. Now, for comparison, recently I was doing a work trip. Of course, I work as a blender for St. Sally's. But I was on a work trip up to St. Louis, Kansas area. And when I was in Kansas City, I actually saw this TC Craft on the shelf. Fortunately, I was in a store where they let you actually taste it. So once I tasted this extra añejo, and this is an 8-year-old extra añejo, when I tasted it, I immediately had to buy a bottle, okay? It's certified additive free. They're out of Tennessee, but again, they are sourcing from a distillery. This one is from, was it 1533, and 1533 is the same distillery that now produces El Conde Azul. So if you've ever seen these little pretty bottles, from the same distillery. Now, the additive free part, I'm not sure if that applies over there, but according to them, this one does, all right? So no agave syrups, no glycerin, nothing like that, or coloring being added. Of course, when you look at this bottle, super dark when you compare. I don't know if there's an open space there, but very, very dark. So more than likely, this one was receiving newer barrels, and it probably was aging a little hotter, probably suffering more angel share to get that kind of color out of the barrel, all right? Retail pricing on it, somewhere around $150. You can catch it on sale online sometimes. I think right now I saw it at $129 a bottle, which to me is a deal. When I was in store, it was $125. Still a great deal because, again, Fuente Seca does it. Somebody, you know, big name does it at an 8-year-old, 9-year-old. You're going to be talking multiple hundreds of dollars, all right? Let's go ahead and take nose and taste them and see what we think. Let's see. Starting with the 88 proof Mi Casa 9-year-old. Yes, much more. And I was kind of thinking, like just now, maybe I should do the 8 first. But then I thought, no, because this has a lot of impact on the flavor. And this one is more delicate. This one's a little more soft-handed as far as it's fruit and floral. Here you're going to get like that fresh agave is still pulling through, but it's very Floral, it reminds me of like a little bit of honeysuckle, plums, dried apples, cinnamon and clove in here. A little bit of licorice, so that anise, anise, that's in here as well. Moderate oak. It's not super heavy on oak, but it's pretty moderate. You definitely will pick it up on the nose. Light berries, almost like a little cherry aspect, feeling pretty natural on the nose. Search the edge of the glass. A little citrus. There's definitely some citrus, some orange peels in here. I'd say beyond that and that spice component, that's really about all I'm picking up. Let's go ahead and taste it. Again, 88 proof, 200-ish dollars for the Mi Casa 9-year-old. Checking that viscosity first. Medium, just above medium viscosity. Flavor really builds and grows. Okay, here we go. Oof. All right. Brown sugar, caramel, leading right up into fresh agave. I like that about it. Even though 9 years old, you're still getting the agave push early. Again, sometimes that can come off floral, sweet, lightly vegetal, almost like a little bit of sugar cane or kind of sweet potato-ish. It kind of runs in that realm. And that definitely hits early. Mid-palate, you start getting that big swell of baking spice. You get that cinnamon, that clove, that anise or anise. And this one at 88 proof, it shows up really nice and bold right there. When it starts to relax this, you get a little bit of a dusting of chocolate, like cocoa powder, a little bit of cocoa powder going into a nice big round oak. Not overly drying, but there is some tannin aspect on the back end that you'll pick up. Fruits still linger, and of course, beyond the agave, it's like you're picking up those light cherries, and everything seems very light on this one. That little bit of that honeysuckle floral that's in here. Moderately sweet. It feels like a really, again, kind of additive free tequila. It hits. It's not super viscous or oily. Like I said, just above medium viscosity. Brown sugar caramel. You get those light fruits, the cherry, the dried apples, a little bit of plum. Right into that big spice, into that cocoa, into a leather. And the orange peel that I was picking up on the nose, I actually picked that up kind of late in this one. It is straight orange peel, orange oil, because you get a little bit of that light bitterness coming off the oak tannin, but you can definitely see how it's almost like if you were getting spritzed by that orange oil, and a little bit of that pith was in there. Overall, very, very enjoyable tequila. $200, I think that's okay. I'm okay with that. That's not where I'd really want it to be. I'd really want this one to be around 150, 160, but hey, I'm not in charge of that. But I will say, as delicate and lightly nuanced as it is, because it does have a lot of complexity, it's just not big and like in your face. This is if you're a long-time tequila aficionado, somebody who really enjoys older tequilas, you're going to like this one because I think it gives you everything without covering up the agave. Now, if you're more into a whiskey drinker profile and you're coming over into the tequila category, this may be a little too soft for you, okay? But that's where the next one's going to come in. All right. TC Craft Extra Añejo, 80 proof. This one, I remember the first time I nosed this one, I was shocked. Okay, here we go. Oh, golly. Oh, my goodness. This reminds me. Now, people are going to say, I know when I say this, there's going to be the aficionados that are going to be like, what? If you remember the 1 liter Tapatio Excelencias, the extra añejo Tapatios, they used to come in the 1 liter bottles. This shares a lot of similarity to those. Those were dark too. Those were almost identical in color to this one. And it's just that this one's more into a deeper realm. This is, again, a whiskey bourbon drinkers tequila. This is how I would categorize this one. Brown sugar, a little bit of molasses in here. Lots of clove in this one. The agave is here, but it's definitely more in the baked realm, like that baked yam, baked sweet potatoes. This dusting of like baking cinnamon. It's not super sharp. It's just a little baking cinnamon. As far as fruits are concerned on the nose, everything's cooked down. Everything's like if you took that brown sugar and you put in some raspberries and just a little bit of cherry, not a lot. More raspberry. Maybe it's a little, again, plums. You put those in there and you kind of just cook them down and let them start turning almost into a jam or a compote. That's what this is. But that big, there's a little bit of that orange oil in here as well, but without the bitterness. I'm not smelling the bitterness, and I'm getting a really nice big rich oak on here. Let's go ahead and taste it. Medium, medium. This is a little more viscous than this one. Not quite medium high, but it's definitely over medium viscosity. Oh my goodness, yeah, lots of flavor. Kicking and rolling. Yeah, the sugar component is definitely brown sugar, molasses, clove and leather, old worn leather, tobacco leaf, a little bit of light coffee bean, almost like an espresso is in this one. But the amount of clove and orange oil in this one is very high. The cherry component, that with that raspberry, but again, cooked down, caramelized, that's the base fruit note. I will say there is some subtle floral in with the agave that kind of lingers all the way into the big oak on the back end. It's cedar as well. I love that. When a tequila gives me cedar and oak, that's just one of my personal loves. This one does it. As far as like when I'm searching for a flaw here, hard pressed. This one, it's got a little twinge, a light twinge of sourness to it early. But that to me is just like an agave component. When the agave is fermenting, cooking, you can get that light, subtle. But it blends and melds so perfectly with all the other great components of this one. It doesn't even seem like a flaw. It just seems like another element to almost like the fruits are a little, there's like a little sour cherry component that was getting baked in there. That's about it. But the clove, the leather, the oak, resinous oak on the back end is beautiful. At 80 proof, 130 to 145, that's a deal. Now, I know these two are going to be very hard to find, okay? But for comparison's sake, I thought about going with G4 Extra Añejo. Problem is, G4 nowadays is almost like Fortaleza, right? It's so hard to find. If I tell you this is great and it's kind of like it or similar, it's not going to do you any favors because that's really hard to find. So the two that I'm going to do, and I'm not going to taste them because I just reviewed Suerte Extra Añejo. There's no sense in me tasting this again. I know in the comments somebody was saying that they thought this had additives. I actually spoke with them, and they, again, I can only take their word, additive free, 7 years old, $125. This one is very nice. It's not nearly as dark as this one, but it's not as light and complex, I would say, as this one. This is somewhere, I would say, like almost right behind this guy. It is more of a bourbon drinker's tequila, again, because it does have a little more sweetness than what would normally be found. But the one I'm going to taste really quick for you is the ArteNOM 1146 Añejo. Now this one is just an Añejo, so 1 to 3 years old, not extra Añejo. Price point on it's typically somewhere between 70 and maybe 125 depending on your store. But I see this one still everywhere at Total Wines and stuff. Some are darker than others. This one is medium. I have darker ones of these, but this is a good medium. Sorry, it's my dog. She's having fun over there playing. Parker. Shh. All right. Oh my goodness, this one's a great one. But speaking of sour, when you start picking up that sour component, this one's much more sour. This one is baked apples, plums, and it's sour. You're picking up almost like a apple cider vinegar, a little bit in there, just a touch, not a lot. But it's more like the apples were really overripe, so they were starting to ferment themselves naturally. Is what it almost smells like. That cinnamon, that little light pepper thing is in here. Fresh agave, though. I pick up that nice, actually, it's a little fresh and baked. Caramelized sugars for sure. Let's taste it. Yeah, that's a beauty. And again, ooh, and it goes into a really big oak. It's similar to this one as far as the depth of the oak, that little twinge of sourness amplified a little more on the ArteNOM 1146. But the fresh, pure agave, I love that in it. It's a really great example of a mature tequila without any kind of additives going crazy. Not super slick or sweet, nothing like that. A little bit of that white pepper in it. That oak gives you a little cedar component too. I love that again. But again, to me, this is really clean, good tequila flavor. Like this is what I'm expecting to see in a good añejo, or even an extra añejo at times. You'll get that much oak. This one, much lighter on the oak profile. Even though it's 9 years old, it doesn't have the oak that one had. So again, we're going into very probably third time, fourth fill, I'm guessing, barrels, and they just rode out their time, really softening, melding the flavors together without adding a lot of oak. Okay, so that's what you need to know about the Mi Casas. The TC Craft Extra Añejo is greatness, but it is very hard to find right now. So keep an eye out for this one. Again, you can order it online. They actually have a Blanco Reposado Añejo, but I have not purchased those yet. I'll see what I can do as far as getting those to review. And then, again, if you can't find these two, ArteNOM 1146, it's a winner at a much more reasonable price, to be honest. So I hope you enjoyed this video review. Thank you, as always, for being here. If you like this kind of unbiased, straightforward reviews, please consider joining us over at patreon.com/LiquorHound. That's how I'm able to continue self-funding these bottles. I'm not asking distilleries to send me anything. I'm not sponsored by anybody, or I'm not beholden to anybody. So if you can, please join us over there. And for like $5 a week, $5 a month, you can become a patron of mine, and you're going to get a lot of bonus content, bonus videos, whole review library. You're going to get all these videos 2 weeks early and ad-free. So again, consider joining us if you can. But I thank each and every one of my viewers, as always, for being here. Keep leaving all those great comments, and I'll get to them just as soon as I can. Everyone have a great day, and cheers.